Caregiving has never been soft work, and it has never been optional. Long before hospitals, certifications, or professional titles existed, caregiving was how people stayed alive long enough to build history. If you're watching this, chances are you're either already caring for someone, preparing to, or you understand that real survival isn't just about tools and shelters, but about people. Stay with me for the next minute, because what you're about to hear isn't motivational talk or surface-level advice. This is about caregiving as a skill set that has carried families through wars, famine, disease, and old age. The same principles still apply today, whether you're caring for an aging parent, a disabled partner, or planning for a future where systems may fail and responsibility falls squarely on individuals. Caregiving is not about heroics. It's about consistency, observation, and endurance. And if history has taught us anything, it's that those who mastered these traits became the backbone of survival itself. Caregiving begins the moment you accept that this is a role, not a favor. When you step into caregiving, you're stepping into a long-term responsibility that reshapes how you think, plan, and move through each day. Historically, caregivers were chosen not because they were the strongest, but because they were reliable. Your first task is not action, but awareness. You learn the rhythms of the person in your care. You notice how they breathe when resting, how they react to discomfort, and how their mood shifts throughout the day. For example, if someone becomes restless every evening, that's not random. It could be fatigue, pain, hunger, or overstimulation. Once you identify the pattern, you adjust the environment before the problem grows. You know, this approach transforms caregiving from reactive chaos into structured care. And, well, prevention has always been the quiet advantage of those who survived longer than others. Daily routines are honestly the framework that keeps caregiving stable. Every successful caregiving system in history relied on routine. The body responds to predictability, especially when it is weakened by illness or age. As a caregiver, you create a day that follows a familiar flow. Waking, hydration, hygiene, meals, movement, rest and sleep happen in a consistent order. This reduces anxiety and resistance, especially in people with memory loss or neurological decline. In practice, this means anchoring the day around fixed points. Morning care always begins the same way, even if small adjustments are needed. Over time, the person in your care begins to cooperate instinctively because their body recognizes what comes next. This is the same principle used in ancient healing households, long before written medical manuals existed. Observation is one of the most powerful caregiving tools you will ever develop. Strong caregivers notice what others miss. You track appetite, sleep, mood, and physical changes, even when they seem minor. Keeping a daily record allows you to see slow shifts that would otherwise be invisible. This habit gives you clarity when speaking to medical professionals and, honestly, confidence in your decisions. For example, noticing swelling that increases gradually or confusion that worsens at the same hour each day allows you to act early instead of waiting for a crisis. Caregivers who document patterns don't guess. They respond with purpose. You know, personal care is about dignity as much as hygiene. Bathing, feeding and dressing are deeply human acts. Historically, these moments were treated with respect because they affected morale as much as physical health. When providing personal care, explain what you're doing, even if you think the person doesn't understand. Speak calmly. Move deliberately. Offer choices whenever possible. If someone resists care, you adapt the environment rather than forcing the task. Warm the room, prepare supplies ahead of time, and keep the process predictable. These methods were used for centuries because, well, they really do work. Respect builds cooperation, and cooperation, you know, preserves energy on both sides. Caregivers must manage their own endurance like a limited resource. Burnout isn't weakness, it's mismanagement. In survival history, no one worked until collapse because exhaustion endangered everyone. As a caregiver, you pace yourself. You rest before you're depleted. You eat properly and protect your sleep. Think of your energy the same way you think of supplies. You don't use everything at once. You conserve, rotate tasks when possible, and, well, you simplify systems to reduce unnecessary strain. Sustainable caregiving lasts years, not weeks. Preparedness separates calm caregivers from overwhelmed ones. Emergencies don't wait for readiness. Effective caregivers know warning signs, keep medical information accessible, and, you know, maintain essential supplies. They mentally rehearse scenarios so they're not making decisions under panic. If breathing becomes laboured or confusion suddenly worsens, you already know who to call, what to say, and how to stabilize the situation. This preparedness mirrors how communities survived illness long before emergency systems existed. Caregiving is preservation work, whether people recognize it or not. When you care for someone, you're maintaining continuity. History shows us that societies fracture when the vulnerable are abandoned. Caregiving builds resilience, discipline, and awareness that extends beyond the household.